All right, this will be the conclusion, the long-awaited conclusion to the exciting story of 7.4. So let's wrap it up. So this is a challenging section. All right, so remember the plan. When you see x to the fourth or x to the half, you know, when you wait, let me just put it this way. When you see fourth power, that's a 4. Fourth power or fraction power or
Negative power.
yeah, negative power. When you see any of those kind of weird things, step 1, u equals the middle. U squared is the front. Solve for u. Finish for x. That's pretty much the game plan. So when you see negative powers or fractional powers or really high powers like fourth power, that's when you recognize, because it'll be hard to recognize. This is all on exam 5, our last exam other than the final. And then you let u be the middle. So right there in the middle, that's going to be u. It's always the middle. U is always going to take the place of the middle. So which means what? That means u is x to the minus 1. That's the substitution I'm making, huh? I'm letting u take the place of the middle. That's what we always do. We let u take the place of the middle. So if u is x to the minus 1, then what is u squared, which is twice as big? It must be x to the minus 2. Twice as big as negative 1. Does everybody see that? Does that make sense? That makes sense? If u is the middle, if u is x to the minus 1, then twice that big, u squared, is x to the minus 2. That's why the front becomes u squared. Does that make sense? Because the front power is twice as big as the middle power.
When you're multiplying, you add the exponent, so you don't multiply.
That's right.
So it's negative 2, not regular 1.
Good? We good there? So now we've changed to u. Ajne.
So basically, you're changing the x minus 2 to u minus 2.
Or just positive 2.
Yeah, well, I'm changing x to the minus 1 to regular u and x to the minus 2 to u squared.
Even though it's a negative, it stays positive.
Yeah, and maybe I can do that a little more slowly because I don't want it to be like magic for you.
It's just weird.
So it is probably different than anything you've seen before. They do lots and lots of this in higher math, but this is probably your first exposure to it. So what they do is, again, it's just simply a name game. It really is. I'm just saying, hey, you x to the minus 1 thing in the middle, I'm calling you Spot today. I'm calling you u. So that's where we start. You always let u be the middle. Now, if I'm wondering, well, okay, if x to the minus 1 is now being called by the name u, what's x to the minus 2 going to be? Well, look, this is an equation, isn't it? These are equal. So that means if I do the same thing to both sides, like if I raise both sides to the second power, they still have to be equal, don't they? Everybody see what I'm doing there? I'm showing you another way to see the truth. Right? So I said this was true by my decision. Your name is Spot. I've decided. Your name, x to the minus 1, your name is u. I've decided. Well, if that's the case, if u is x to the minus 1, then square both sides. You're allowed to do that, right? Then u squared will be, and what happened? What do you do with these powers? You multiply them. That proves x to the minus 2 is u squared. Everybody see that? I just squared both sides. So I took this truth and I second powered both sides. If u is x to the minus 2, then u squared must be, if u is x to the minus 1, then u squared is x to the minus 2. On that. Ajne.
Is the u squared always positive?
Is the u squared always positive? When you say that, do you mean is the power always positive? Or do you mean is the whole u squared always positive?
The power.
Yeah. It's always going to be, always going to be positive. Well, is that good? Do you see how what this relationship says? I just second powered both sides. And so this means anywhere I see u squared, I'm sorry, anywhere I see x to the minus 2, I'm allowed to replace it with u squared, because it is. X to the minus 2 is u squared. So when I see this x to the minus 2 right here, it's regular u squared, isn't it? Positive 2 power. Is that good? So it'll always be that way. It'll always be the middle is u, the front is u squared. Always positive, like Ajane was saying. That's true. Okay, so with that in mind, let's now we got to solve this u thing. How do we solve that u thing?
Factor.
I don't think it'll factor.
Oh, I just threw it into the quad.
Yeah, let's just go quad. So we'll go quad. So negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. So when I go quad, which equation am I solving? Am I solving for x or u right now? U. I'm still in the u work. So remember that u will equal whatever the answer is we get from the quad here, huh? So this is a. B is 1, right? C is negative 1. So negative b, negative 1, plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4 times a times c all over 2a. Negative 1 plus or minus, what's that going to be? 1 plus 12
13.
over 6. Negative 1 plus or minus root 13 over 6.
Yeah.
We're not done yet. That's just the u work. We got to go back to x still. That's just step 2.
Negative 1 plus root 13 over 6 is 18.
We good to there so far? I'm going to go to a fresh screen if you're okay to there. So what have I done so far? When you get these negative powers or fourth powers or fraction powers, you always let u be the middle and u to the positive 2 be the front. It'll always be that way. Then you solve the u. I did the quad, so I'm getting my answer for u, but I'm not done yet because I got to go back to the original x, don't I? So let's go to a fresh screen on that one and finish from there. So we've got, well, I forgot already. What is it? Oh, negative 1 plus or minus root 13 over 6. So u is negative 1 plus or minus root 13 all over 6. I got to go back to x now. Well, what I should do is break this into two. Well, let's go back to this. So what is u equal to? What does this say right here u is equal to? X to the negative 1. U is x to the negative 1, isn't it? Remember, u took the place of the middle. U is x to the negative 1, huh? So that means u, hey, you're x to the negative 1. Does that make sense, what I'm doing there? U is x to the negative 1. Good? So now we're back into x, and we need to solve for x. How do we solve that for x? Well, that's true, but I don't want to do that. Remember what I did before? Remember I said you got to turn this into x to the positive 1, which is regular x.
Negative 1?
So you raise both sides to the negative 1 power. Remember that? Remember that trickery? Right? Remember we had one of these a little bit ago? And if you raise both sides to the negative 1 power, what's negative 1 times negative 1? Positive 1, or regular x. X to the positive 1 is just regular x, isn't it? See, that makes it into regular x, doesn't it? Everybody see what happened there? What happens on the other side? Now, on the left side, we have 2 powers, so they just multiply and become positive 1. On the right side, I don't have, this is the only power. There's not another power. 13 doesn't like have a power on him, or this guy, or this guy. There's no powers on the right side that are going to directly interact with the negative 1. You see the difference? On the left side, there's a couple powers, so they did their power thing. Negative 1 times negative 1, positive 1, no big deal. But on the right side, there's no other power to interact with that negative 1. So what? Well, so then he'll do his negative power thing. What does a negative power do to anything it's on? Flips it upside down. Remember? It always flips it upside down. Like that, doesn't it? Remember, negative powers flip things upside down, don't they? Does that make sense there? So I've got x to the positive 1, which is really, it's just x, huh? X is 6 over negative 1 plus or minus root 13. Now the problem is I can't leave my answer that way. That's a great answer, really, but they're picky about the format and everything, so we got to clean it up for them. But is everybody good to there? Everybody see how I got to there? So now we got to go to a third screen on this problem and clean that mess up. So let me do that. These are long. So 6 over negative 1 plus or minus root 13. So we got 6 over negative 1 plus or minus root 13. So let's break that into two separate answers. 6 over negative 1 plus root 13 and 6 over negative 1 minus root 13, right? The two options, the plus root 13, the minus root 13. Two separate x answers. You with me? And I can't leave roots on the bottom. Remember how we never leave roots on the bottom? So what do we got to do to get rid of that root from the bottom? Conjugate. Remember when you got a root and a plus or minus? Carrie, you just got an A in that test. I mean, it was just on that test. I mean, you take that test back. I don't know. Right? We had a conjugate on that one, right? We're going to need to multiply top and bottom by the opposite sign in the middle. Remember that? Opposite sign in the middle? Yeah. Oh, do they take it? Oh, good. Then forget it. We'll just type that in. Excellent. Thank you, Abraham. That's the best news. Okay, so is everybody good then? So it turns out we don't need to do any of this. They will take it this way, and we're done. So let me just recap that real quick. So everybody see what happens. So one more time. You got negative powers or fourth powers or fraction powers. You let u be the middle. U squared's the front. Solve for u right here. And then once you got u, you go back to what was u? It was the middle. It was x to the minus 1. And then you got to turn that into normal x, which means negative 1 power, because two negatives make positive 1. And that flips the right side, and we're done. Good?
Mr. Aaron, is it all right if you do the 1 over x?
Yeah, that way will work. I wouldn't suggest it because we're going to do some other things, and then it won't work then. But it works for that one for there. It does. All right, let's try this one. 10x to the 4th minus 11x squared plus 3 equals 0.
That's going straight to the quad.
Yeah, I would just go straight to the quad. Well, actually, first, what do we do when we have fourth powers or fraction powers? Fourth or fraction powers or negative powers. What do we do first?
Make it
U in the middle. U squared in the front. Right? So this will become minus 11u. It's u in the middle. And u squared in the front. Then goes right to the quad, huh? So now take that, plug it into the old quadratic formula. So you guys like the quadratic formula. A lot of that test we just took was quadratic. That's one of the highest averages I've had in that test before. I think the average was 76. I think. If I remember right, I think it was 76. That's good. That's good results. I think it would be plus or minus square root of b squared minus 4ac. Plug all those in. A, B, C. So negative 11 plus or minus square root of b squared minus 4 times A times C all over 2A. And this is U equals. We're still in the U phase, aren't we? It's just going to be here. It's 121 minus 120. Oh, that's nice.
Mm-hmm.
So it's 11 plus or minus square root of 1 over 20. Very convenient.
Now what?
What's the square root of 1? 1. So we say it's 11 plus 1 over 20 and 11 minus 1 over 20, huh? We can actually do the two options. So it's 12 twentieths and 10 twentieths. You guys with me? Probably should have went up further. Bring it up here. And then just reduce both those fractions. Bring it up further here. So it's 11 plus 1 over 20, 11 minus 1 over 20. It's 12/20ths and 10/20ths. Then you just reduce both those fractions. Divide by like 4 3/5, and this is a half, huh? 3/5 and a half, we're done. No, we're not. We're only done with the U work. I shouldn't have circled it. That's only what U equals. We still got to go back to X. But good so far? Everybody good with those two answers so far? So 3/5 and 1/2. Now, if you're good with that, I'll move to a fresh screen, and we got to finish up. Can you finish up for X now? That's what U equals. We got to go back to X, which was the original given letter. So we got U equals 3/5 and U equals a half, right? The two separate different answers, 3/5 and 1/2. Good. And then, now what was U? U is always the actor playing the role of the middle guy. Not the number, not the 11 in front, just the X squared, right? The U always takes whatever X thing is in the middle, doesn't he? So that means U equals 3/5 really means X squared is 3/5. And U equals a half really means X squared is a half, huh? Is that good? And then how do we finish? How do you solve for regular X now?
Square rooted.
Root it when you put a roof on the house.
Up and down.
Up and down, plus or minus, up and down, roof on the house, up and down letter. So you get plus or minus root of 3 over root 5.
Oh,
Can't leave a root on the bottom.
no.
Multiply top, unless, except for that last one, they let us.
Don't take it like that.
They won't like it here, huh?
No, they won't
They'll take it that way?
take it that way.
Really? Well, then let's quit messing around.
Really?
So they'll take it just like that, you're saying? Just like that? Great. All right. Good.
Okay.
Watch out on the multiple choice test. They may, the publisher may simplify it all the way. So you could simplify it, right? Good? We okay? I feel like I've been on this section forever. I probably need to do maybe one or two more and move on. We good? It is weird. All right, so there we go. So what are we going to do when we have fractional powers or negative powers or fourth powers? What's our game plan? We're going to let U be the middle and U squared be the front. Everybody good with that? So the middle will become U, and the front will become U squared. Oh, where's that? There's no 2. What am I doing? Yeah, there we go. Is that good? See how it's the same every time? U in the middle, U squared in the front. Every time. All right, solve the U. Go back to X. All right, solve for U. So 3 times 5 is 15. Sign in the middle goes on the bigger, doesn't it? Minus 5 plus 3. We're good there? And then so that means U is negative 3 or U is positive 5. Good to there? And that's the end of the U work. And so now you got to go back to X, right? So how do you go back to X?
X to the 1/3 equals.
The middle. Yeah, because U is the actor playing the middle X thing. So U, who are you, U? I'm X to the 1/3. He's always the middle X thing, isn't he? So U equals negative 3 means X to the 1/3 is negative 3. And U equals 5 means X to the 1/3 is 5. Good? Are we all good to there? Now, for the $1 million question. How do I take x to the 1/3 and make it like into regular x? That's always what we want when we're trying to solve things, huh? Is regular x. I don't want this weird x to the 1/3 thing. I want regular, normal, everyday x. Which means x to what power? 1. I want x to the 1. That's x. That's normal x, right?
What it means?
So what do I do? Okay, whatever you do, you got to do both sides, huh? What do I do right up here?
2/3?
Times a third. Times. We're multiplying. Times a third. That'll become 1. 3. Yeah. 3 on both sides, huh? 3 times a third is x to the 1 is just normal x, isn't it? And then what about the other side? It's -3, -3, -3, which is -27, huh? We good there? Is that making sense? Good so far? Let's try the other side. Third power, both sides is x to the 1. And this is 5, 5, 5, which is 125. And those are our two answers. We're done.
That was easy.
Is that making sense what happened there? So again, from the beginning, when you got weird fractional powers or negative powers, let u be the middle, u squared's in the front, solve for u, go back to x. Whenever you get some weird power, you got to make it 1. So that's 3 times a third that makes it 1. Is that good? Everybody see that? Hey, why? Why on the right side did I write 3 of them, but I didn't do that on the left? I didn't write 3 of those.
And that canceled out?
Yeah, it's because these guys canceled out. Exactly. Right? They canceled out, so the 3 was gone. Right? But on the right side, there's no power here to cancel that 3 out. It's just 3 of them. Right? Over here, they cancel out. But on the right side, it's 3 of them. Right? Everybody see the difference? So the power goes away if there's something to cancel it out. Otherwise, it makes 3 of them, doesn't it? Is that good? That's going to take some practice. You can master that, but you got to put a little bit of time into that. That's a more advanced concept. That's edging into more advanced algebra there. A little fancier stuff. Here's our Mr. Roberto always pointing out, if you need help, he's there. He's always checking in with us. His hours are back there. Get the help you need.